Beautiful. Nice to meet you girls. Are you the mommy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't-
Shashi.
Sure, she. And you.
Olivia.
Now I see how beautiful you are.
Olivia.
Olivia, very nice. Usually I'm able to tell children by their ages, by their names. There was a whole ring of names. I know. So, and you?
Leah.
Leah, that's nice. I won't remember, Leah, nice to meet you. I don't want to remember the names, but if you remember me, you see me on the seat, you can say hello. I will definitely say hello to Rebecca. This is my daughter. Hi, everyone. I make the mother-in-law.
That's the
Her
connection.
name is
Yeah.
Nechama.
That's the connection. I'm Nechama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome,
You can
everyone.
welcome us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you thanks to those moms that joined us tonight. We're having a really, really nice mitzvah here. And we have the honor and privilege to have my grandmother, and my mother-in-law is going to interview her. So that's a connection, mother-in-law, grandmother. And we're going to hear about her story. So I just want to see Zoom. Can you all hear? Yep, excellent. Okay. I'm just going to be a little bit closer. Okay. So you can get started right away.
Okay.
Thank you.
So first of all, does everybody or does anyone know that there's actually a book written for children?
Just signed hers.
So it's called, it's right. So Stacy has the book. It's called Tuky. My mother's nickname is Tuky. Her real name is, you can tell her real name is Malka. But because she was so adorable as a little girl, as you can well imagine, as you could see, she still hasn't changed.
Trying.
Her brother, they called her Tuky,
Tuky.
like as in
For
sweet.
cute. In Hungarian, cute is Tuky.
Oh, so he couldn't say Tuky, he could only say Tuky, and it just remained. Hence the names, if you were ever wondering. So my mother's book was written about her. My sister actually is the one that wrote the book. And Stacey's showing it. They can't see it on Zoom, but yes, there is a book. And I highly recommend and encourage you all to read this story, as it's an easy to read book for children. And I myself, when I read it, I was very moved, even though I've heard the story throughout my
Day and night.
not day and night. No, my mother's too positive to talk about, all these difficult times in her life, but we knew about it. But when I read it, I was so taken aback. It's such an emotional, incredible, extraordinary story of a child that was hidden during the Holocaust. So I don't know if you know anything, or is this completely new?
We just want that.
Okay, so you don't know. Okay, so let me give you a little brief synopsis. You'll tell the story, we'll ask questions, but my mother was a hidden child. I don't know if any of you children know what happened about 70 years ago about the Holocaust. Yes, okay, we don't take anything for granted, so we're just.
We appreciate your.
Yeah,
your
we're feeling everyone out, right?
But
So-
a lot of these girls go to Somenchector, and Somenchector really, from a very young age.
Right, they instill,
Instill-
okay, so that they should know about this important event in our lives. Not so long ago, my mother lived through it, and she's very
Wow.
young. So she was a little girl, and I'm going to ask all kinds of questions, and you'll get a little picture as to what happened to my mother during the war. So I'll just give you a short little, so you get a little better idea of what I'm asking. My mother's family, my mother comes from a Jewish family, obviously. And as you know, or if you don't know, I'll tell you, people in those times, the German Nazis were looking to find every single Jew possible. And do you know why they wanted to find every Jew? I don't even have to tell you. Why did they want to find every Jew?
To kill them.
To kill them. Why?
Liquid.
Why did they want to kill them?
They didn't like them, and they thought they were killing them.
They just did not want, they did not want any Jews alive. If you're a Jew, you are not worthy of living. whether you looked Jewish, whether you acted Jewish, as long as you were Jewish or had any Jewish blood in you, sorry,
I have to say, even if your great grandmother was Jewish,
any Jewish blood,
no matter how they converted.
they searched and
Just like-
searched and searched and hunted and knocked on doors and dug and went into forests and went into basements, any hiding place, looking for Jews. That was what their job was, to kill all the Jews. And my mother and her family were Jewish. So was it safe for them to live where they lived? They lived in Hungary, and when the Germans, when the soldiers came to Hungary, they said, we want to find every Jew. We are going to look for every Jew. So my mother's parents had many children. We'll let you know as how many children she had. And what are we going to do with the children? We can't keep them here. We're adults. Maybe we can find a way to hide, but children, they can't. So what they did was they sent my mother and a lot of the little children and her cousins, sent them to different farmers that lived out of the city of Budapest, and they paid them a lot of money to keep quiet. Someone that there's Jewish children here, and that they should be safe and to feed them. So they had to pay them a lot of money to keep them quiet and safe. And what you know what they told, like the children in the family or the neighbors of the farmer, you know what they told them? What did they tell them? That these
They
are
told
just
them, just people, friends from Budapest, and we want to keep them safe. So in the villages, it's much safer. So we brought them here. Even the girls that I was sleeping with on the same mattress, that did not know that I was Jewish.
Wow.
They did not know the story. So that's the short of the story. And we'll go through some questions, and you'll hear a little bit of the adventures that my mother, or the trauma rather, that my mother had gone through. Okay, so my sister is the one that actually wrote this book. And like I said, I really recommend you read it.
And it was very recommended to her, that the publisher told the editor actually, that you have to be very careful not to write very frightening things. So it's very nicely.
It's well written for
watered
children.
down.
Like as an adult, you'll be able to read between the lines of what is going. So the first thing I'm going to ask my mother is, before we can get into the little details, what is your message, Mom? What is your message to these beautiful mothers and these beautiful daughters, the future Jewish mothers? What is your message to
the
them?
power of one? We all think, I don't have to do that. They don't need me. What is it? Each and every person counts. Every small good deed counts. I don't preach, but I want to tell you, it's so obvious. I came back alone. It was a miracle that I'm here. And I have a tribe. Look at them.
That's
God,
that's a very important
that's the
message.
thing. We all count. Don't think, it doesn't matter. Plenty of people that they don't need me. They need you. The world needs you. The world
That's right.
needs every single one of us. If we're here, it's because God you needed us here. We're not just here to pollute the air. But
Right. So each one of you girls, parents, of course, are so important. So important. You see what one person, and my mother, do you have a picture of everybody?
of my
Of
grandchildren,
your grandchildren? My mother usually comes with a picture of her children and
I
grandchildren.
usually do that. Doesn't fit on
Poo, 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 poo.
myself.
Okay.
Don't tell anyone.
So now, Mommy, when did you make the decision?
I'm inclined.
Okay. When did you make the decision to share your story with us? I could even answer that.
I
if you want.
don't think I made a decision. Actually, I was I'm envious of these girls. They have a school. I didn't have a school to go to. Every time I served them something to eat, in my house was I don't like it. I'm not gonna eat this. I've heard of something else. Not because my parents were,
didn't have the
because that's
luxury.
the way it was. And I come from a home that was very, they were well-to-do. They had maids and everything. But to leave food on the table, no. Until this day, there is anything on the table, I crumble it up, I take it to the birds. And
No waste.
And God blessed me that I always have people in my life that will take food that I did not finish on my plate. I always find somebody. I call up and they're there in no time. So, you know, like, I think I get rewarded for it.
So my mother was born in Hungary, which is in Europe,
Yeah.
quite far away from here. So where in Hungary were you born and raised?
Budapest and raised.
Okay.
Born, bred, Nechama.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
I will keep it. I
My
will
mother.
keep it. I'm almost done. Thank you. Waste of cup, waste of a cup.
Yeah, never wasted, ever. When my grandmother, when her mother would come to our house, and you know, kids, like, how do we eat? We take a little here, and we leave a little bit over. I don't like it so much. My grandmother would take a chair, sit next to me, and say, Nechama, you didn't finish. And she would take the knife and scoop every little bit of food that was on the plate and feed it to me. And I wasn't a little girl. She would not let me leave any food over. That's how.
And they also didn't serve like today.
Right.
Today
That's
it's a
another
story.
That's another discussion. Okay. Can you describe a typical day in your house? In Hungary,
In Hungary,
75 years ago.
well,
80 years ago.
80 years ago. In my house, at the time, my mother only had 8 children. She was expecting the 9th one. So in the morning we got up, and some of them the maid has to pull out of bed, my brothers. And we had to eat what they put down on the table. First of all, we say, Madame, you open your eyes and thank God that you woke up. And this, till this day, I want you to know, ladies, I'm an old lady. I say, Madame, and I verbally say, thank God, you're giving me another day. How lucky am I? And I can walk, I can hear. There's so many beautiful things out there. So, you know, it's only good. So we woke up and we got dressed. My mother combed, I had braids. It was combed so tight that with the Chinese, you know, really, because it had to be neat and clean, crisp. Everything was ironed. Then we had in the morning, we had milk and bread and butter. So we were very well to do. So we had bread and butter. Tomatoes, fruits, and everything were only available in the summer. There was no such a thing. They did not ship from Peru and Chile the fruits. No. Bananas I only saw when I was 12 years old in Belgium.
And tell us about what your Shabbos table looked like.
Oh, our Shabbos table, and every day.
Shabbat.
First of all, everyone knew in our house, everyone was welcome. No cell phones, no reservations. People just arrived.
Guests, my mother's talking about guests.
Mhm.
Could you imagine you open your door
Total
in the morning
strangers.
and people are there to move into your house?
They moved in. My mother took in with my mother, a young mother, she had a baby, she couldn't deal or whatever, took the baby home. She also had a baby. They had another baby, you know, and the baby stayed with us, I think, for months. It was the most natural thing, and they were just very giving, nurturing people. So people arrived with children. Anybody that was sick in the rural areas, not really. The villages or smaller towns, they all came from Budapest for treatment. So they stayed in our house that needed operation and doctors. They stayed there. My mother never set the table for less than 24 people. 24 every lunchtime. And pasta had to be made by hand. Mm-hmm. Everything had to be made in the winter. They only had potatoes, cabbage, and
Carrots.
onions, carrots, but because it was kept in a place so that it should be. Only some root vegetables. Mm-hmm. And we lived and we ate well. Mm-hmm. And my mother baked challahs from 30 pounds of flour every one.
You know how much 30 pounds is, girls? I'll tell you how much 30 pounds is. This much. Literally, if you would put flour on the table, it would be this much.
She also sent to the synagogue every week. she sent for the Shalashudas work. They have an afternoon meal there, so she sent there.
Did you have an oven in your house?
No, they took it.
They sent it to the oven.
You're from Morocco.
So from.
They
I
did
was wondering, maybe in
No,
Hungary,
no,
they
no.
were more
Not
like-
only that, but also the dafina. They
Yes,
sent to the,
your
they sent to the
children.
baker.
Yeah.
the children.
Yes.
So
It's
the
the
girls, let me
best.
explain this. Do you know that when you go into your kitchen, what do you see in your kitchen? Describe the appliances. What do you see?
A stove.
You see a stove. What else do you see?
My counter.
A microwave,
An oven.
an oven, something that keeps things cold. What keeps things
Fridge.
cold? A fridge and a freezer, okay?
We had
Walk into my mother's kitchen 80 years ago, and this is what it looked like, a table in the middle. Okay, not everyone had a sink, nobody had.
No, they didn't. We didn't put it as we had the running water.
They had running water,
I
but not,
remember when we went to the country, there was no sink.
no sink. So a water and a table, so imagine, and there was an oven, a stove.
That they had to that with coal.
Yeah, you had to put coals, you don't even know what coal is. Do you know what coals are, kids? Do you ever see a
Yeah,
coal
yeah,
in
like a barbecue.
no barbecue, no coal.
Oh,
Yes,
Like
so
a
coal is
fire
little
pit.
black, like in a camp, you know,
Like
little
in a
black
camp.
charcoal, whatever. You might not ever see it because who uses that today, but every day you had to stoke the coals and start the fire. So anything you had to
Can you
make
imagine?
took a whole day. You couldn't just open the fridge, put it in the microwave. You had to start from scratch.
And mother's the frustration when you set an oven and you start the temperature. You have to change it. I'm sorry.
So
That's why-
everything took a very, very long
We
time
should
to
do
cook and to
something.
make. So it wasn't so easy. Now, so I'm gonna tell you what my mother told me when I was little. My mother would go to sleep at night. She didn't have a bedroom. It was a room that a few beds were in, and sometimes she slept in this room, sometimes she slept in another room. She saw an empty bed, that's where my mother went to sleep. When she woke up in the morning, where do you wake up in the morning? Do you wake up in your bed? Okay, you know where my mother would wake up? Sometimes on the floor,
And we looked up who's.
sometimes in another room, and do you know why? Why do you think she?
Sleepwalk.
Because?
Sleepwalk.
No,
No.
because she had so many guests that would come.
Guests arrived. so
And they
took
had
us
no
off, they
place
put
to
us on
sleep.
the floor.
So the children were put on the floor or into another room or onto the couch. So that's how my mother lived, always giving of herself and of her space and of her place and of her bed. She was taught always to give to somebody else, always to share.
And I got
So
a
the
lot
next
more than I
question-
gave. Trust me, I got a lot.
The
more than I
question
gave.
was, the next question is, did you resent the fact, resent means that you really didn't like it or really hated the fact that there were so many guests in your house?
No, it's so much fun. It's so nice and they all come and you know what? And everybody teaches you something, certain things you remember what they said. And it's just very nice.
So you're saying you learn from everyone. You learn from everyone.
Always, always.
And what language did you speak in your house?
Only Hungarian.
Do you want to hear, say how you say Hungarian and do you want to hear what Hungarian sounds like?
Magyarul. Én csak magyarul beszélek.
Do you know what my mother just said? I only speak Hungarian. But that my mother speaks many languages, but she's just trying to make you hear what Hungarian sounds like. Now, did you have any Jewish neighbors on your block?
On a block, no, but.
Was it like a shtetl? Was it like a
No.
very Jewish area? A lot of mezuzahs on the door?
No, not at all, not at all. We had like an apartment block across the street. And this way, there was a Jewish family, also Gestetners, and my aunt and my uncle lived another block and a half away.
Okay, so now we got a little feeling of what it was like to live in Hungary. And did you go to school?
I don't start, get me started. I actually had my sister, and I think she died because of this, because she couldn't take it. I said, I'm not educated, I didn't go to school. I hardly went to school. She said, why do you say that you did go to school? I said, I went to grade 6 in 3 different countries, 3 different languages, okay? Okay, and till then, how many times we moved? 11 times in 3 years. What did I learn already? By the time I understood, I didn't know it.
Okay.
But we learned on the job.
When did you so right now my mother's living in Hungary in her home, in her beautiful home. And one day, or we want to know what happened, when did you realize that there was a war and that something bad was happening to people around you? When did you realize that? When it wasn't good for Jewish people?
Exactly when, but I know it was becoming very stern. People were whispering, we weren't allowed to hear. Guests were coming, all kinds of strange guests were coming. And then one day, my mother and the maids are sitting and sewing yellow stars on our clothes.
Did you read about that, girls? Do you know about the yellow stars? Do you know why they have to wear yellow stars?
Because everyone had to know they're Jewish. And I'll tell you the secret here why they didn't. Because anyone that passed us and saw a yellow star was free to beat us up, and they did, and drag us by our pigtails. And my brother, I mean, I have a brother that's older. He definitely traumatized till this very day, and he lives here a lot longer than he lived in Budapest.
They used to take his kippah
Beat
and
him up.
throw it.
Beat them up and threw it away and stample on it. When we go past, and you know what? He is so nervous and so suspicious, they always take him apart. They always do. We drive to the States often. So before the Tuky take over, they'll take me in. And it's so true. When he sits at he takes out his yarmulke. I says, with closed eyes, they can see you Jewish. Who can tell you Jewish? And he stumbles and he chokes and he stutters. They know that he's suspicious.
That's my mother's talking about
Her
brother.
today.
That when he
We're
goes
speaking
through the,
about today.
when he goes through the
Okay, he's a
border,
great grandfather.
he's always fearful of authority, because to him, what they used to do when he was a little child was
It never left him. Never left him. So
right. So that was okay. When you were so now I'm going back to the story I started telling you. At this point, it wasn't safe for my mother to be at home. So tell us what happened.
it wasn't this time. First, they took us away. A truck pulled up in front of the house, and SS came in.
So the
Everyone-
Nazis came into the house, to my
By
mother's
that
house.
time, they were Hungarian. They were
Okay,
called
doesn't-
FBI.
but
Okay.
just for
Into the
understanding.
truck, and my mother, very clever and very practical lady, she tried to put 2 dresses on us. She knew we were not coming back right away. She said, let them have 2 dresses. No dressing them in the truck right now. She couldn't take a diaper from the kid. My brother is still. They put us in there, and instantly, like family services, it has a name here too. My mother, they put into a holding unit, like a jail in the city, and they took us away. They sent me away to a lady. I look at that couch. I was thinking I was sitting on the same color couch there, but this actually 2 very nice ladies. To me, they were old.
They took my mother in a truck and they deposited her to a woman's home.
No,
to
first
somebody she doesn't
into
know.
that place where
Right,
my
but-
mother was, and then they
They separated the children and just
divided
put them into different
places.
homes, not with their parents. And you're sitting on a couch at this
Yeah, they
strange lady's house who was nice.
ladies.
She was a nice
I
woman.
think they were very nice. I really
Okay.
think, to me, it seems like there were 2 old maids, which was very common those days. Somebody who couldn't afford a dowry did not get married. That's it. And I was sitting there in a big brown suite. I was sobbing for 3 days straight. So I told my father afterwards, I was crying 2 days. She said, what did they do? I said, I didn't let them know, as if they didn't see. You know, a 6.5.
So my mother was sitting on the couch and just crying and crying for 2 days because she didn't know where her parents were. She had no idea what was going to happen to you.
And I didn't even think of that, but I was just always used to being with everybody. My sister, who was born after the war, she lives in England. She comes from a family. She married a one and only man. All day she says when she comes there, she was like, when is the door open? Nobody comes here. So, you know, we didn't know what it is just to be with a closed door.
So did you know where your parents were?
No.
You had no idea. No idea. Okay, can you tell us, there's a special story that happened to my mother's family. It's the story of the coins. Now you're going to hear a miracle that happened to my mother and to her
I
siblings
witnessed.
that you lived through.
I lived through. I
So
witnessed
tell
it,
the
and
story.
The Belzer, there's the Rebbe.
A holy rabbi.
holy rabbi from Poland was being smuggled out of Poland. Their followers were very careful. They wanted to spare him, and they did at the end. And so they went from country, tried to take him on dry land to Israel somehow. through Ukraine and Iran and, you know, the first out Uzbekistan, you know, through the back roads, which would probably take months. So he came to Hungary, and everybody was going to rabbis, to the rabbis. It was really a miracle, and he was a miracle worker. And suddenly my father takes it, I have to do something. He realized nobody, when I'm not very fluent, like as you see. But we are always influenceable, right? When you drive down, like you not, but me like a maniac, I said, nothing is gonna happen to me, to other people, all right? So we're invincible. And this is how everybody feels. You're like, no, it's not gonna happen. Hungary, they're not gonna kill us. No, they're so civilized, they're so cultured. They're very cultured, actually. No, they will not do that. They were the first ones, the Hungarians, to volunteer. So this rabbi was going through, and everybody went to see him. And my father had an idea. I want to save my children. I want to save my family. He took a bowl of coins, silver coins, and said to the rabbi, bless it. I want to save my family. He pierced holes in the coins, hung it on our necks.
So my mother and her siblings
And a lot of family
and guests
members.
that were in the house had a necklace, and on the necklace was a holy
A
little
coin,
pendant
a simple coin, a Hungarian coin.
that
But
was
it
blessed by the
became- it
rabbi.
became holy.
And tell us what happened.
And we all had it, and everybody who had the coin came back, alive, intact. And nobody could believe that 8 children come back from one family, and not one coin remained.
No one has the coin. When they got together after the war, not one of the children, not one of the parents, none of the adults.
Nobody.
No
Where's
one had the coin.
Where's
They
the
lost
coin?
it.
My brother says somebody.
Not because it was
somebody in
lost, it was
Australia
just-
has it, but I haven't heard of it.
Right.
No one
So
has the coin.
that was a big blessing to your family. So, Mummy, you were hidden with a non-Jewish family.
Yes.
What was life like on the farm? And what was it like to hide the fact that you were Jewish? I mean, you mentioned this before, so how was
It
that
was
experience?
very easy. They were cursing the Jews. I said, of course, it's all the Jews, but look, the moms are calling because of the stupid, dirty Jews, the dogs, they're cancer, they're like the scum of the earth. I said, sure, I agreed. Of course, all the Jews are wrong. I knew personally. But they didn't ask me. So this is the way it was. And I was sleeping on a mattress, and I'll tell you what a mattress is just for fun. But a mattress was in every single village, not just, it's not because they were poor. It's burlap sacks filled with straw. You heard this already. Okay, and actually it's not that they were very spotless clean. Iron, sleek, gorgeous linen. I was lying on the floor, and 2 girls. And at night I had to wait till they fall asleep because I couldn't fall asleep. I don't say Shema Israel. I mean, you have to.
Right, every
So-
night my mom would say Shema at
I
night.
put my face into the pillow.
So
and
she waited for the girls, the non-Jewish girls, to fall asleep,
We slept in the same
right? You
mattress.
slept
It
in the
was-
same, right, on the floor, and then my mother would say Shema quietly to herself before she went to sleep, because that's what Jewish
I know.
boys and girls do at night.
I didn't know you can sleep without it.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not wow. It's
It is wow.
It's natural. No.
and wow, a natural wow. Okay, here. Sorry, just getting next question.
And you know what? I was thinking, and I tell it to many people, you expect the children to be brought up by the schools. My mother, who taught me who taught me my dad? Who taught me? Only my mother, you know, like, and she knew that brocha, she used to say brocha, say a brocha. Brocha, we weren't
A
allowed to
blessing,
open
say a
a blessing on
before you
every time you get a bowl of food, you have to say brocha.
Okay, share the story of the Hungarian soldier who was throwing all the children onto the truck, and people, not only children, it was mostly adults and children, but the soldier saved my mother and didn't put my mother on the truck that was going to Auschwitz. Tell the story.
I was kept in the basement because the people that they couldn't process all the people so fast. So they did by transports. So whoever was going to be sent, that was from Budapest, was going to be sent to Auschwitz, was put into a hole in the room. To me, it was this big, maybe it was much smaller. And there was full of you know what the mattress was there? A spring. No mattress, nothing, no cover, no blanket, no nothing. A spring. You went to sleep and you got up. Ensuite bathroom was a big pail in the corner. Okay, that was the ensuite bathroom. So then, I don't know, I think that 2 weeks we were supposed to, till there was space to where to send all the convicts or murderers like the 6-9-year-olds. And I don't know if I dreamt it or someone told me, don't go away from here. And he comes up with his clipboard at the door.
So my mother's in this big area with a bunch of people just sitting there and waiting to be taken to Auschwitz. She didn't know, but my mother said someone told her, I don't know, you said you don't know if you dreamt it or
I dreamt it or something,
don't leave from this room, don't go.
Don't go away from
Not that my mother had a choice, but you'll hear what my mother did.
And he stands there with the clipboard.
The door opens and the truck comes, backs into the front of the room,
Exactly.
and everybody's going on to
And
the back of the
he
truck.
ticks off the names, and comes up to me. I was skinny, shy, not cute, and speech impediment. I had all the negatives that you can think of. And I stepped up to him and I says, I'm sorry, I cannot leave from here. I have 2 little brothers. They can't tie their shoelaces because I have a brother and a cousin with me. We were always together. They can't tie their shoelaces. They're out there. I can't leave from here. And my mother is sick in hospital, total fabrication, and my father is a soldier. And I can't leave from here. And he felt sorry for me, put me behind the door.
Open the door, you know these big doors? You know, you have these big
You
doors,
know,
open the door.
there's a
Like,
corner
he
there.
hit my mother in that little triangle of the door and said, you wait in there.
There, and then the truck pulled away, said to me, scram, get lost.
So that's how my mother was saved at the time. Is that a miracle, children? It's a big miracle,
I
right?
think.
And where did you go from there?
Okay, so there's a story. Tell us the story of the package. So this place where my mother is, like
The holding unit.
she gets out of the basement, and now it's a whole, like kind of, like a camp.
courtyard.
Like a camp, which is all closed up, and they're holding prisoners there, also going to be transported, but not just yet. And in this area is her little brother and a cousin that finally meet with her, because my mother was taken away from them to put into the first transport. But this is what she-
There was boys men were sleeping on the floor and women. They take me into a room there because I came out, but I says, I don't know. They told me I'm supposed to be, take me into a room. And the room was like this, narrow room, shelves, wooden shelf. That was the bed, people suffered. I came in like the door was here, and a lady was there on top, the blonde lady. She saw me, she lost it. She totally demented, screaming, there are still children alive. I want my child. She was screaming that I think, you know, the shriek, I can hear her shriek. It was such. So they took me out of there, and then they put me in another place where they, so that it wasn't so sad, or didn't lose a child. That's where I was. So I kept on every day. There was an office. Every day I went to the office and I said, my name is Maria. In Hungary, you couldn't give just a Hebrew name, no matter how much you liked it. My name was Malka, so that was given the Mariana.
The English, the Hungarian name was Mariana.
So I went over, my name is Mariana Gestetter. I want to know if I have a package or a letter. Every day I went with this. There was no mail, there was no package, there was no nothing. And I think that's, and every day, and I became already a pest. They were already joking. Is here she is again. They were teasing, but I didn't care. I just wanted to make sure that they heard my name. And I think that's how my father found us. I don't know.
Because they knew that my mother was there.
They didn't know actually that we were.
No, I'm saying when you're
from
from
the they didn't know that we were taken away. No phone, no nothing, no telegram. There was no communication. So my parents.
Let's back up. Why were you taken away from the farm? Why did you land in this place?
Because my brother, younger brother, and a cousin, also 2 little boys, they were there on the next farm. And every day I went to visit them to say my Dani with the Nechama. And every day I went to visit them. But the next farm had a little calf born. and they're fascinated with it. The boys were just, they went, watched, and that's so cute, it's so cute, we want to buy. They said that we want to buy it. They told the farmers we want to buy
A little
it.
5-year-old boy told the farmers, I want that.
We want the calf, we want the calf. No, he has to nurse, you can't get it. Look, it can't even stand up yet. They, they were teasing them, as long, they counted the days. When is the 2 weeks out? 2 weeks, 14 days is 2 weeks away. When 2 weeks are up, we get taking the calf. As if we needed in Budapest the calf urgently. And so they started teasing them, and every afternoon on the villages, even now, they sit outside the intelligentsia, the postman, the doctor, the farmers, they're busy. And they're sitting and they're teasing these boys. And if there is a lawyer and a policeman, and they say, how can you take something without paying? You have to pay. You don't get anything free, and you have no money. That's all they had to hear. My brother, my cousin, he says, "Wait, I need a tissue. I have. Thank you. I have no drunk. I have." And so you have no money. My cousin says, we have no money. When the Russians, look how 5-year-old you, the Russians beat the Germans. We get back our factory, we can buy the whole village. And they're sitting there listening. He says, these are not no friendly kids from Budapest. These are Jewish kids. Instantly, the police was right there. They took the 2 boys. I didn't know about anything because I was in the house where I was. And at night they come and get me. And they take me to a place, and there stands my brother and my cousin, sniffling, wiping their noses. And they asked me, what's your name? I said, my name is Maria Ladic.
She said she was told to have a new name.
Yes.
Not to say her Jewish name.
Yeah, I tell you already about that.
I didn't ask that question. I should have.
So
They gave my mother, her real name was Malka Gestetner, but they gave her the fake name,
Maria Ladic.
Maria Ladic.
So
Like
they
now you
asked,
have a new name. That was her new
and they
name.
told me, my father told me, when he said, I'll say this now, when they sent me away, my father said, you're going away with these people, and you can eat whatever they give you. He told me that I'm allowed to eat.
Right.
Yeah. You can eat whatever they give you. And you go with them, and you no more Tuky, no more Marianne. You are Maria Ladic. And then he blessed me, and they blessed. And he told me, remember, you're a Jewish girl. And you remember, you are a Jewish girl. Don't forget. Because they never knew they would see us again.
Because
And you know
her
what?
father never
Till
knew.
this day, whenever I say it, how many times I think, how many children were not picked up? Actually, in fact, I met a woman that they found her because the farmer lady did not want to give, didn't want to keep her. And just now in Florida, I met somebody 2 years ago. And she was telling me this. I said, how do you know your name is Javi? She says, I don't. But they told me, the woman that gave me to the rabbi, rabbis went around picking up children, finding children after the war. They told him, she said, this child the mother gave me, she paid me a fortune, whatever I want, just keep my child alive. The mother never came back. The mother and father got killed. And she's living with a strange child who did not need and didn't want. She wanted the money, she didn't want the child. And the rabbis came around looking, says, this child was given to me. So what's her name? Her name, she told me, was Eva Lebovich. That's a pretty Jewish name. So I said, how do you know Chava? She said, I don't. They said, if they call you Eva, you were probably Chava. Yeah, so that's where
Right.
I was.
So you were saying that they took the police was there.
Yes,
found
so they wanted to know, what's your name? My name is Maria Ladic. They told me, and what is your real name? My name is Maria Ladic. I was told, and that's what I said. They said, we'll beat you till you bleed and you will say your name. And that's all my cousin did. Instantly in Europe, then in those days, I don't know, maybe today too. She said, her name is Mariana Gestatter, her mother's name is Gisela Solomon. And right away,
So the cousin,
full credentials.
the cousin was afraid, the cousin was afraid that my mother would beat her up. So that he right away said the real name,
Yeah,
so that she shouldn't get beaten up.
yeah, but of course, he's
Right.
sorry for me.
Right. So then,
They decided that we can't stay there in this village anymore.
that's
Because,
amazing.
yeah, they made us walk and they were going to decide because, you know, neither said it's different than like Chemin de Laval, you know, they go, and we were walking and the gendarme is, what do you call it?
I was
It's
a
like,
policeman, an officer.
yeah, more than an officer, a little higher degree than a police, was riding on the bicycle, and the man, actually, the one that I stayed by, he was coming with a thermos of food. I remember. Yes, he was staying. I don't know what it was, but he was following us to the next village. So we're walking there, and this is where the miracles happen. You know, we got take us to the police station. Get rid of this little, you know, rascals or scum or whatever other cute nicknames they gave us. And you heard about it. Oh, the Jews, we're clean. They were so proud. We're clean. No more Jews in our town. They call them Judenrein. Clean of Jews. We're clean of Jews. So what's going to be the next time? Right? And the next time we go do the same thing. We missed the last transport by a day. And the third place, we missed it by hours. So that's not a miracle. Then they put us into jail. And then they sent us up to Budapest. That's when this holding unit was. That's what we're at.
Okay.
How
I think
many,
I was gonna say, we
how
have to.
many
we have
years
to
later?
close up soon? Okay.
how many years were you away until your father picked you
No,
up?
we were in Hungary. The war was just months.
Oh,
The
that's
Hungary
right.
was the very end.
1940.
And the SS came with 200 SS into a country, and in 4.5 months, they killed 450,000
Oh
Jews.
my God.
In 4 months, 450,000 Jews they managed. Why? Because the Hungarians were so efficient and helpful.
Okay, so now you got a little taste of what adventures my mother lived through as a little girl. And have you ever been back to Budapest since
Yeah.
then?
Yeah, many.
She's been back to, you know what, let me, because we have to wrap up, I'll just give one last snapshot. Tell us what happened when finally, so my mother was found from this place where she was saved in this little camp, sort of. And then you all went to the glass house, which is a whole story. They were saved in another area,
The Swedish
Swedish glass
king
house.
was very, very sympathetic. He even wanted to wear yellow star. He felt so good. So anybody that was a Swedish subject or anything,
A citizen or belonged to
or
Sweden
belonged.
was able to be saved. So my mother was able to be saved with her family in this house, but it came the day when the Germans said, nobody's safe, everybody
Hungarians, no more protected.
out of this house, and you're all going to the ghetto. And you do know what a ghetto is, girls? Do you know what a ghetto is? It's a place where they kept only Jews. You
Fenced
couldn't,
in.
all closed, and you couldn't go in, you couldn't come out, and people basically starved because you couldn't get food in. They had very little food, no money, and like 4 families were living in a room like this. So it was a very,
It was even worse.
it was terrible.
It's separate and better.
So you were on, this is a very important message, I think, that we can even live with today. You were being escorted by the guards and guns and everything, marched to the ghetto, all the Jews together. And what did your cousin tell you?
She was 14. Don't walk right there. Let's walk straight and proud with Jews.
So even,
She was 13 or 14.
so even when in the hardest time, and even when you're being, I mean, persecuted,
Murdered.
always stand up, and well, God forbid we don't live in such an area, but even in that time, they stood up and they were proud to be Jews. They didn't hide, they were proud to be Jews. And I think that's a very beautiful message. Is there anything, other message you'd like to?
No, my aunt said, he says, now I'm even more grateful to God that I was born a Jew. Now I'm
That I
grateful
was born.
that I was born a Jew. I don't think we should do this.
I don't want to belong
I
to.
do not want to belong to such a race.
So when did the Rebbe came into your life? Many, many years
Who?
later?
The
Yeah,
The Rebbe de Lubavitch.
When I got married to my husband, it was,
So that, those years already, the Rebbe had his.
Yeah, but you were, when you got married, that was, the brother had just been in there for not too much.
yes,
10 years.
I know, about 10 years. 10 years is a long time.
Yeah. Long and short.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
For your
It was
story.
so nice to meet you. Any questions? Don't be shy.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Are all your siblings have the same type of attitude, aside you mentioned your brother, but your other siblings,
My brother too, he has a fantastic attitude.
everybody has the same type of attitude as you?
Yes.
Yes, they do. I could tell you that. They're all my aunts and
Yes.
uncles, 100%.
And they,
You know what, we're so
hearing their
grateful.
stories, that they go through it saying, I'm
They-
Jewish and I'm proud.
Stacy, I speak to friends, miserable day, awful day, awful day. What's awful? The worst day in my life, what happened? The hairdresser messed up and it's raining, there's one guy go somewhere else. It's miserable, okay? I said, tell me, do you hear me? Yes. Did you wake up this morning? Do you hear me? You understand what I'm saying? You recognize me? It's a wonderful day.
Wow. But I'm sure there's a lot of people who, thank God, that came out of.
Yes, and they're miserable, and they're
Right.
miserable and do not want. I get this parable, so to say. We go to beautiful shows, right? Stages. It's so beautiful. You have such a good time. Do you know what's going on that stage? The fights, the mist, the dirt, and the dresses are horrible inside. They smell and everything. And they put the spotlight where everything is beautiful. That's my job. I have a spotlight and I put it where I want to see. That's it. And I think that should be all our jobs.
Yeah.
Then you wake up and, oh, no, I'm up. My children can hear me. They can walk. They can walk, they can talk.
Not my son's not a doctor, my son's
No,
not.
no, no, your husband doesn't have to be, he has to be, exactly.
He has to be alive, healthy.
Not only that, and be an upright citizen.
Yes.
Know that it's not our wisdom, not to be a doctor. A doctor also has to be successful.
Yes.
I know a lot of doctors are total failures and they feel even worse. They went through everything and they're failures. And they mess up and that they can't sleep day or night. You know, we can all pick on something to be miserable about. I pick something to be happy about.
Good. That's the message to all of us.
Yes, she wants to ask
Very
the question.
nice.
Yes,
What was the name of your cousin?
you want to know? You're going to read the book. Everybody wants to know. Punchy, and you call it Punksi probably. And somebody
No,
put
I said
Punchy, and it says on the side. Punchy.
Where is the book?
Hmm?
Where can you buy the book?
On Amazon, they sold out.
Also,
Yeah, no, but you can get it in the Jewish bookstores.
Yeah.
On,
Okay, I wish. Because people ask me, so
yeah, I think in, on Pardes, I think
Okay,
so.
but
I'm gonna look it up. I'm
okay,
gonna look it up and I'll tell you if they have it.
They might have I used to, in the adult section in the Jewish book club.
They do
might
have in the Jewish public
Yeah, I
library, right?
saw one in the adult section, you have to look really carefully.
Or you can just ask them and they'll tell you where it is.
Huh?
Oh,
What?
nice.
She's the only one that found it.
She went on a field trip with her class or camp or something. and-
Yeah. So leave it to her. Leave it to her. Is that not a blessing? Is that not a blessing?
I didn't think it was, but it is now. Now I can see the positive and
Right?
everything.
You know, there's always something positive, ladies. Let's not get lost in things that is so, and it's so passing. My aggravation is passing. By the way, my basement is flooded. It's flooded.
My mother's basement is totally flooded.
You can't
For
imagine.
months.
For months already. It'll be done when it'll be done. I have to wait till it's frost, so we see where it becomes strong and the foundation is exposed and here water is coming in. So now they build a board so I can walk into my Pesach kitchen because Pesach is coming and I still want to do.
I'm looking to see if they have it.
It's back in stock online, just checked. On
Where?
Amazon. It's
On Amazon? Okay, there you go.
It's back in stock.
It's back
And
on
there's
stock.
so many
By
nice things
tomorrow.
happening. You can go out for a walk. Nobody chases you. We used to, when I got married already here, and whenever we looked for an apartment, I always look, okay, this is where I come in, where can I chase out? Where can I run out if somebody comes in? This is where you come in, and I scanned right away where I'm escaping. I don't look at it now anymore. Not at all. So let's make every day a good day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so.
I thank God that I can say it too. I never wanted to say it, but the kids said, the people want to hear it.
Of course.
I'm shy, as you see.
Very nice.
You should
Thank you,
all be
Mami.
blessed and have
Amen.
wonderful, wonderful families and wonderful, healthy children and grandchildren. They should find nice, good mates that you are all happy with. My blessing is that every in-law should love their in-law kids.
Amen.
It's a big difference.
Of course.
No matter how you think, it doesn't matter, my child should be happy. If they're happy and you make them miserable with picking on them. I've seen that. So,
Thank you, Babette.
I do.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you for those comments.
So nice to meet all you girls.
So nice to meet you too.